Hi folks and welcome to another Sonic Academy video with me, Phil Johnston. This week we had something pretty special happen. I ended up getting Tune of the Week for a remix I did for my good buddy Gary, aka Trance Wax. And it's got Tune of the Week on ASOT, and the track is off Gary's album Open Up the Night, so pretty chuffed with that. So I thought I'd do a walkthrough, just take you through the track, show you what I did, what the sort of thoughts behind it were, and how it sort of was all pulled together. So I'll give you a quick playthrough of some of the elements. We'll just start at the break and go into the vocal so you get an idea of the sort of the main track, and then I'll start breaking it down into the separate areas and we can have a listen through.
It's not what you wanted. It's not what you needed. Don't want to believe it. You take it or leave it. You said how you feel.
There you go, there's a basic sort of overview of the vibe. The brief was sort of, sort of classic trance, 2000 era mixed with something a bit more modern. So I tried to keep some of the original coast to coast vibes in there, but sort of update it with a general overall mix and sound. So we'll start off at the top and we'll just go through the drums and see what we've done. It's pretty basic. When I was actually sort of going through it and tidying up the project, I sort of realized that I didn't actually have that many plugins or effects on it, so it's quite interesting to go through, and it sort of proves that you really don't need a whole lot of extra plugins, but there are a few key things that we'll look at that do really help. Obviously we've got our kick. We're using kick 2 from that, and a preset from the recent Trance Takeover presets. If you haven't got those, check those out. I think there's 50 really good trance kicks in there, and let's have a listen to it. Quite a soft, thuddy sort of kick, not too overpowering. The track is at 135, so it is quite fast. 135 was what Home was originally at, so that's why I sort of did that again. A bit of a harken back to the original 2000 vibes. And our tops, there's quite a lot of stuff going on in the tops. Initially it comes in with just a clap. Sort of nice atmospheric smallish clap, and then once the sort of main drums kick in, we have all the stuff going. Got a 909 clap on top of our, again, wanted to keep it simple, wanted to sort of use as much of that sort of vibe that we had back in the day, as it were. Although the 909 clap is still being used today, it's been used forever, really. This core kit, I don't think this kicks in till later, so just some nice shuffly sort of hi-hats. And all the way through this, we are using a couple of swing patterns. So one is quantized and has the timing at 18, so it's a 54 swing, so it's sort of a medium swing, and then I'm bringing the timing down to sort of suit the track. I don't want it too sort of skippy and too shuffly, sort of we used to use when we were using Cubase and Logic, there was a shuffle preset called 16B, and that was the one a lot of people used back then, and this is sort of similar. It's in that sort of bracket. And the second one, I think that might be used on the bass again. Some things I sort of try to layer the swings up, so maybe some stuff would be more swingy, like hats and things, and maybe the bass slightly less swingy. I know that sort of theoretically would create a sort of a mismatch in swing, but I tend to feel that it works. I think you can have quite skippy hi-hats if you and maybe not so skippy bass. It seems to work well enough. Going down the drums, standard 909 hi-hat, probably something on it. Sounds quite, it's maybe just the sample. It's from our Ultimate Drums. Bit of saturation on it, maybe not quite a clean 909. This hat loop I didn't use, maybe just a bit too spiky. There's a lot of loops in here, and a lot of them are just sort of there to sort of back up the groove, and they're not mixed very high, but you can sort of hear them in the background, or you get a feel for them. It's more about feel probably than actual sound. There's like a bit of reverb on that. Gives you a nice vibe. Again, I always like to have a tiny bit of percussion, just something that's sort of moving the groove on. Again, it's very mixed very back in the track, or very low in the track. Again, I don't want to overcomplicate the percussion, because the main elements like the bass and the leads and the sort of arps and stuff, you want them to sort of really drive the groove in that sort of upper area. But you do still want some sort of like ear candy, something to get your ears to notice those nice wee reverbs, or it's just about building atmosphere really. Again, bit of reverb on the clap, that hi-hat. Is there anything on that? No, it's clean, just a straight loop. Again, a bit more percussion. And this one, this is where you want sort of that, sort of gives that pumpy energy. It's sort of quite overdriven, saturated vibe. You can hear what the overdrive's doing. So it's quite clean and spiky, and then that overdrive just makes it a bit more slushy. Just helps to have that sort of push-pull vibe in the drums. And this one just sounds like energy, sort of keeping the groove going. Another hi-hat, overdrive. Again, I don't want the hi-hats to be too spiky. I was sort of aiming for somewhere between like Offshore, where it has that really nice shuffly, sort of soft, almost shakery groove, mixed with like something like Out of the Blue, where it's just like a nice 909, but it's got a really nice tight vibe. And then later on we introduce this. Again, energy, just trying to build up the layers of energy when we're sort of transitioning to the next section. Again, quite similar. That again reinforces that idea of that those Offshore hi-hats, sort of shuffly and old school. Maybe a bit of ride in there. It's always nice to have sort of some top end. Hi-hats again just gives energy. And we'll move on to this section. This is our last loop, is it? Again, more energy, just fast hats, quite wide stereo. And then our last section, I think this is just a ride coming in. And then we obviously have our fills as well. So on the breakdown we have both a snare fill, standard 909, wanted to keep it classic, and then just a kick thing, just to give some sort of, again, more energy. Those drums all in together. Overall, I think it's a nice groove. Sort of got all the elements, got some nice sort of saturated hi-hats, some more toppy, spiky elements. Seems to all groove pretty well. So let's check out the bass. So a few elements going on in the bass. We have, again, going for that classic vibe. That's a sort of plastic bass, lately bass, FM sort of vibe. Think Cafe Del Mar, Coast to Coast Home. A lot of those tracks in that era used that similar bass sound. And then on top of that, we have our faster bass. Yeah, I think it's maybe filtering up. Again, just to add that extra energy in the bass. And then on from the bass, we've sort of got this mid sort of ARP thing. Gary from Trance Wax really liked the Coast to Coast Be With Me track, and it had this quite distinctive ARP with these wee rises in it. So I tried to incorporate that just as a wee Easter egg. So if you listen to the Be With Me, you'll hear there's a very similar lead sound in it. And that obviously develops as we go on through the track. Some of the leads. Just solo a few of these so you can sort of hear how that energy is all brought together. And then I think that's top bass is just a sort of subbier bass just to reinforce when everything kicks in. So quite driving. Again, you can hear an emphasis on the so it's like which is sort of, I didn't want it to be digga 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 digga, which is sort of a more modern thing. I wanted that sort of bit more spiky approach to the bass line, or a bit more sort of groovy. And moving on, what have we got? So this is the first time our sort of lead is being introduced. And this is lifted straight from the remix pack. So this is the MIDI from Gary's track. Quite a plucky lead again. We're sort of building up. We don't want to have a big super saw right at the start. We want to sort of start introducing those elements with some sort of more plucky, sort of rhythmical vibes. And let me just see, did I actually do any processing on the bass? So again, on the bass, we've just got filters. We've got a sidechain compressor, just sidechain to our kick. I don't really like using the LFO tool and stuff. I prefer to do it through a compressor, because just means you don't have to turn it on, turn it off in different bits. It sort of happens automatically when the kick kicks in, which is sort of what the whole vibe of it was supposed to be in the first place. So I just stick to using a compressor on any channels that I want to have that pumping effect on, especially bass, because you want to sort of avoid the kick and bass hitting together, because that can sort of overload things. I don't think any of these have got a huge amount of compression or a huge amount of effects on. Yeah, standard stuff. EQ8 delay, compressor, and the lead's the same. And obviously as we go through the track, this is opening up. And then there's a bit of a sort of build-up section here. And the rest of the leads are starting to be introduced there. I did this thing in Home as well, where I dropped down to just the kick and the bass, and then I started introducing some sort of chord changes. as it's sort of almost dying away, and it sort of gives you a hint that there is something coming. It's sort of building that anticipation, giving you sort of clues about what's maybe going to happen soon. Again, that sort of whole section's just about moving the song along into a sort of a different area. You know, the first bit's sort of really about building and introducing basic stuff, and it's about the DJ intro as well. It's about a place for a DJ to mix. You sort of want to keep that quite structured, so it is all very structured up to that point. I think it's probably all in eighths. That's a good point for a DJ to, you know, cut the track across. And then that wee sort of drop works really well with the vocal, or the change in bass line works really well with the vocal, gives you some nice vibes of what's to come. And then we sort of start dropping everything away. We want to... But the distance is healing. The thing we do at this point is loop up the sort of last section of the leads. Again, sort of to you want to sort of take things away from the listener to be able to bring them back. So that's sort of like taking away that sort of the melody, keeping it straight. It's a nice way to sort of build up, and then you can sort of drop everything in. I think we still keep it on the same bass line until the break, so it's still a straight bass line, but we've sort of got all the elements in now. The lead sounds have all filtered up. Not fully opened up yet, so we've still got a bit of room to grow the track even further. We haven't completely opened up our lead sounds, so again, holding something back again for the break. I'll probably build right into this section. You can see here it's subtly just opening the filter up as it's heading into the first big breakdown, or the main big breakdown. There is only one in this. Let's have a listen to that transition then, Phil. So you can hear that we filter the leads and a few other things down just right before. And you can do that both ways. Some tracks have done you build it right up to something massive and then just drop to nothing. Or you can sort of just slowly sort of bring it down. Both work. Just a matter of preference, really. And yeah, over that sort of build-up section before the break, we were introducing these choirs, just bringing them up gradually as we go along. Again, just increasing that atmosphere, increasing that tension, and just something more interesting for the user to listen to, or just to give a progression in the track. What you never really want to do in a track is just have a loop that's just repeating and not going anywhere. You should always be building somewhere or taking the track to a new section. And we did reverse reverbs on the vocals. Should you hear that coming in? It's not what you wanted. Always love that sound. Classic trance move. And you can see the track down at the bottom where we've done that. So I just took the whole vocal, reversed it, put a reverb on, recorded it, and then moved it back up. So there's a million tech tips on the site about that if you want to have a digger deep into that technique.
It's not what you
And then it wouldn't be a coast-to-coast track without the JV 1080 Belltree pad. Really must recreate that in Ana 2. This is the only non-Ana 2 sound in the whole thing. Belltree Vox Classic. JV's super good module for classic trance stuff. It's got so many recognizable pads and stuff in it. So all these together create our sort of atmosphere. We've also got a cool sample here. I have no idea where I got this sample from, but I've had it from right back. This was used in home. We've had this. Chris and I were actually looking through sample packs the other day to see if we can find where all this stuff came from. I don't know where this came from, but it's a lovely pad. It's been about for years. When you combine that with Belltree, all the choir stuff, and we've got a sub as well. So this is the atmosphere in the breakdown, and we've got a sub drop. Covering all areas there. We've got a really nice low sub holding it all together, really reinforcing the chord changes, and then we've got our real nice beautiful top end stuff, and then the choirs in the middle. I don't think there's any other than those pads. There's no like super big saw pads or anything. I think it's just the choirs really underpinning that, the chord changes. And then for the build up, once the vocal sub.
said how you feeling. You're worn out, but the distance is healing. You said how you feeling. You're worn out, but the distance is healing.
So a few things going on here. We drop out all the pads and just sort of focus on the vocal and the lead. The lead stops changing the chord progression, just sticks to that original one that we had at the start in the build up, and then towards the end of that final build up part, it does the same loopy thing again, just to sort of create more tension and more energy and anticipation. And we chopped up the vocals as well.
But the distance is healing.
That's completely nicked straight off BT. Running Down the Way Up, one of my favorite tracks of all time. Was it that? Yeah, I think it's that, or maybe Mercury and Solace. He does that sort of thing. But yeah, I always loved that vibe, so chuck that in there. And we also have stuff going on the master channel. So rather than going into each individual track there, doing the filter, I wanted to add sort of a phaser flanger effect, basically a phaser effect to sort of make it sound wobbly, or sort of. You can see there, filter and phaser. I'm just automating the dry wet. It's completely turned off before the break. So you can see there I've automated the on-off switch. I don't like keeping filters on the master because there is some resonance issues if you just keep them left on, even if they're down at their lowest. You can get sort of pre-ringing and stuff like that, which can mess up your mix. So if you are going to use a filter on, or if you're going to use a filter on the master channel, it's probably best to turn it off and on and only use it when you need it. Same with the phaser. Didn't want it interfering with anything, so I just have it switched off until I'm actually starting to bring it in. And then we're just automating the dry wet controls as we sort of go up into that last section of the break. Again, it's the, you know, you're sort of building up to this crescendo, but you sort of want it to sort of drop away as well, because you don't want a lot of energy. You want sort of it still to be increasing in some way, but you don't want the actual energy to be there, because when it comes back in, you want that to be the main impact. So you sort of, as you're bringing it up, you're sort of filtering things away as well. It's classic stuff. And then just everything in. Leads are completely opened up now. And we've got a few layers. Let's go through them. Got that. It's our nice fizzy top vibe. Gives us a lot of energy. More like a driving vibe, sort of giving that sense of energy, speed. And then just another sort of more stringy type layer, I would say. They all combine together just to give a nice vibe. And then we sort of bring the choirs and stuff back in, and then I think we have another round of the vocals. And we drop a lot of stuff out there, filtered the lead down, drop it to just one of the leads. Again, we don't want to fight with the vocals, so you sort of try and remove stuff. The vocal becomes the forefront, and then we can switch it back. And it gives you an opportunity to do sort of another build again. One thing we haven't touched on is the effects. So all very simple stuff. We've got that reverse reverb effect, and we've also got just some crashes. All from Ultimate Effects 3. Crashes, sweeps. Again, didn't go too crazy with atmospheres and stuff. A more modern track I would probably do more atmospheres, more incidental sounds, more ear candy. A lot of sort of more modern stuff has loads of just, it's very rare you hear sort of any space. It's always taken up by big reverby swishes and swirls, you know. But back in the day we didn't. We were more lazy, I guess. We just stuck to the basics, which can still work today. And then once the vocal comes out, we're just back into the main section. And then nothing too clever as we come out. Just basically revert back to where we started from, and then a bit of a basic DJ friendly outro. Keep a few elements in there just to see where we are, and then boom, and that's it. So all in all, a fairly simple track. There's not a huge amount of effects going on. Mostly stock stuff. I think I'd used, got anything on the grips? Yeah, so I've got Soothe on my hi-hat grips just to soften things up in that mid-range, but that was really the only external. We've got Fresh Air, so nice bit of almost opposite stuff going on there. Probably Fresh Air is pumping up similar frequencies as this is taken down, but sometimes that just works. So Soothe's really nice on hats. I use it on hats and vocals mainly. Fresh Air gets quite a lot of use. That's from the Slate pack, or the Slate bundle, I should say. Good for mastering as well. I always put a wee touch on the master. For the master, I have, and this is sort of what I use for my demo masters. The Slate FG Grey, which is an SSL 4000 bus compressor. And then we have the FabFilter Multiband Pro. Again, just basic stuff. I don't think I'm doing a huge amount with that. Probably mostly the kick. Bit of fresh air. And then my absolute go-to limiter is the FabFilter Pro L. I just don't know another filter that gets the same levels with the same quality. Definitely worth checking out. I'm not hitting that too hard. It's more to, at this stage, it's more to just give a vibe what it's going to sound like when it's mastered. If you listen to sort of modern tracks now, some crazy numbers, so you're probably hitting 6 LUFS or minus 6 LUFS and stuff like that, which can be pretty achievable without, you know, destroying the signal too much. Especially with this chain, I can get around 6 when I'm really pushing it. So depends on the what you're trying to achieve with it. If you want a really squished, you know, upfront sound, you can definitely go that far if you want. So that is it, folks. That is our track. If you want to check out the Spotify links, you can go and listen to the tune of the week on ASOT. I have to say I was very excited. It was very cool. I've never had a tune of the week on there, so I was well chuffed. And that's it for the tutorial. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.